Welcome to day 4 of our 11-day emotional detox. Today, we're going to explore the chakras that are just above and just below our heart chakra. Now, as I've talked about before, every chakra has a corresponding chakra above and below. So your heart chakra is what fuels all the chakras. It's where the source of all life comes from. And then from that, that life source energy flows into all the chakras in our body. And depending on where they are and the association we have with the organs that are near that body, what kind of energy it processes, emotional energy tends to be stored in those areas. So love is associated with the heart, obviously. And so the energy of love and the energy of grief tend to accumulate where our heart chakra is. Now, feel how all of this has to do with story and with programs and association. The subconscious mind works by association. And so that's why when we're doing energy work, we're not really working with the logical mind. We're working with the subconscious mind, which is 95% of our reality. It's responsible for 95%. And the subconscious mind is not a logical, linear reality. It works on feeling, intuition, symbols, and association. And so as we started yesterday in the heart chakra, I really tuned into that space of light within us. And when that space first started feeling vulnerable within our grief, now we stretch our awareness to the two chakras, like I said, just below and just above the heart chakra. Not really many people talk about these chakras, but I first heard about the Invincibility chakra, it's the chakra just below our heart chakra, about an inch below, through one of my friends. And she had described it as looking this sort of rainbow iridescent color, being a very small chakra, like much smaller than the other ones, and the sound almost sounding like an electric guitar, sort of symbolizing our uniqueness, the aspects of our energy that really uniquely translate in our programming and then via our consciousness, the story and the meaning we're giving our experience. So when I heard about that chakra, I knew, well, there has to be a chakra above too, because all lower chakras have a corresponding upper chakra. And this corresponds to our lower dimensional energies and our higher dimensional energies. And in reality, the word higher and lower are really nonsensical because the universe doesn't work in a hierarchy, but we call them lower and higher because the lower energies feel more dense and more grounded and more very physical and visceral, and the higher energies feel more etheric and very light, and we feel lighter. And so I just wanted to clarify that when I use those words, just remember I'm not trying to put us in duality. It's just a way to communicate within a language that we understand. So these two chakras, above and below the heart chakra, begin to represent our unique energy signature as physical beings, not only in the third dimensional reality, which is where what we call the now is happening, the cutting edge of creation, and the experiences that we're having here are catapulting our higher energies into very specific directions based on the meaning we're giving our experience. And so this synergy that exists between the heart chakra, that's flowing from the heart chakra, and expressing itself through our Invincibility chakra, which is right above the heart chakra. This is the unique way in which we survived in the world, how we've survived our programming, how we've made it this far. And our Uniqueness chakra, which is about an inch below the heart chakra, this energy expresses our unique signature in this body through this particular program. Because your physical body, your DNA, carries a very specific program that represents the history of the consciousness that has gone before you. So something about your soul really resonated with this particular programming. So in my reality, it feels as if I came here to overcome certain programming in this particular DNA line. Why my soul chose to do that, there's an infinite amount of ways you could interpret it. But what matters is that you interpret it in a way that resonates with you. And this is the first lesson of the synergy between the Uniqueness chakra and the Invincibility chakra. Remember, both of those energies, including our heart, represent our unique energy signature. As snowflakes, there are not one of us that are alike. All of our electromagnetic fields carry a very unique signature. And it's part of what's amazing about life and life force, that it can express itself in an infinite amount of ways, through an infinite amount of realities, and through an infinite amount of expressions. And there's some part of us that's conscious of it and experiencing that. So without getting too far into the theory of it, I want you to just bring your awareness to these two chakras. Just bring your awareness from your heart chakra about an inch up to your Invincibility chakra and about an inch down to your Uniqueness chakra. And just feel the synergy there. This, like I said, represents your first energetic expression of life force through this specific programming, through your DNA. Now, as I talked about with the heart chakra, the energy that fuels it is love and joy, and the energy that can block it is grief. When we move into these chakras that first express our first expression of our unique self, of our unique energy signature, we have in the Uniqueness chakra that the energy, that the emotion that helps it flow and grow and expand is the energy of self-love, self-acceptance, because the Uniqueness chakra represents our unique conscious experience of this particular programming. And our meaning that we give it really creates a lot of color in that chakra, a lot of vibrancy, more uniqueness. The energy that blocks this Uniqueness chakra is the energy of self-hatred, self-criticism, all of those things that when we judge ourselves. Now remember, lack programming is all about duality, and duality has to do with right and wrong. We have to determine who's right and who's wrong because we have to eliminate who's wrong because there's not enough. We believe in lack. We believe in limited resources. We believe that love can run out. So we had to make a program within lack that only those who are worthy are allowed to live. Only those who are worthy are allowed to be in this reality because we had a belief that there's only one reality. So there's not enough room for a lot of creators in that reality because there's only one reality. So you see how limited that whole belief system is. And when we're operating in lack, there's a part of our consciousness, what we can call our shadow, that is always looking to eliminate what it believes is wrong. And so when we look at ourselves and we have any aspect of us that believes we are wrong, then that part of our lack programming in our our subconsciousness goes to war with ourselves. It becomes a self-sabotaging program. And it self-sabotages because it conflicts with life itself. Life itself is flowing and there's a program saying it's wrong or bad. Now, there's a big difference between judgment and discernment. And I want to clarify what this is before I move up to speak about the Uniqueness or the Invincibility chakra. Because when we have discernment, all we are doing, if we live in a limitless universe and we are limitless beings that are expressing ourselves and experiencing what we call life in many different ways, then that means that as we experience, the entire point is to feel what feels good, what brings us more life, what helps us feel more expanded, and what feels like it's shrinking our life force, what feels like it's taking from us, what doesn't feel good. And when we have an experience and it doesn't feel good, we realize, okay, that is something I didn't like, then we can shift it. That's what makes us creators. And we shift it by saying, okay, I'm going to do something different then. I'm going to change. I'm going to have a different experience. And we change that experience by going back to the origin of what caused us to move towards the experience we had that we didn't like in the first place. What was that cause? And if we can go back to the cause and say, okay, this is what happened, as we did with our heart chakra exercise. This is what happened. This is the message I got, which caused me to have these experiences, and those experiences hurt. So now I know that program that I gave myself must be out of alignment with my truth because it's a self-sabotaging program. So I'm going to change the meaning I give this. And that's why we went back and said, for example, with mine, the message I got about the first time I experienced real grief was that it wasn't important. And so I internalized that program and I continued to live my life as if my grief wasn't important, and it caused major issues in my relationships, in my ability to attach and detach in a healthy way to relationships and to myself and to understand myself. It was a self-sabotaging program. And when I finally was able to unravel why something was so off in my life and able to trace it back to that core program, your grief doesn't matter, and change that core program to my grief not only matters, it shapes me. My grief shapes me and also shapes my experiences and also becomes the essence of my pearl of wisdom. So by changing what I think about grief and what I believe about grief, now I feel different energetically, and I know I will do things differently in my approach to relationships because I've changed the program and I understand now that emotions matter. And so I process my emotions and clear them instead of suppressing them and denying them, which ultimately causes resentment. And that's what I'm going to talk about as I move up to speaking about our Invincibility chakra. I just wanted to give you that background of why it's so important to understand the way we particularly give meaning to things. And often it's because of the way, especially when we're younger, we're impressionable. So it's the way that those around us projected meaning onto us. Often we just pick up those programs. But what we're learning is we have a choice. We don't have to agree with other people's programming. And when we realize this and shift our program, we shift into a parallel reality. And it's key to know this because in the lack matrix, the energy at the core of it is war. We're at war with ourselves. We're at war with others. We're at war with our Trinity because we're trying to figure out who's wrong and what's wrong so we can fix it, so there can be one reality that we feel safe in. We're trying to control the external without understanding that the external is merely a reflection of ourselves. And so as we begin to understand that, when you understand how it really works, you see that war is nonsensical. Why would you go to war with yourself? Why would you do that? Especially if your soul's wanting to grow and expand and learn. Why would you intentionally keep programs and keep living out programs that hurt you? And then what happens is, because we don't know we're the ones doing it, we project it out there into the world and make enemies of other people. And that's our most dangerous thing that we can do, because we're truly victimized, truly hurt, but truly believe at such a core level that we're powerless, that we don't take responsibility for the projections that we're sending out, for the way we are programming the matrix. And so then we have all those powerless feelings, all the power that we're projecting out into the external, coming right into our reality and kicking us in the ass. It's showing us how powerful we are. And as long as we continue to hold a vibration of victimization, we will keep sending out messengers or mercenaries to us to show us, look, you're doing this to yourself. And some people need much harder lessons than others. And so it doesn't mean victim blaming. It doesn't mean not validating how we feel, because as we talked about with the heart chakra, emotions are fuel for life. And the meaning we're giving those emotions determines how this experience feels. So it's not wrong or bad to have a preference. It's not wrong or bad to be hurt and say, okay, I don't want that. But it's crucial right here. When we have the experience of something we don't like, and we decide we don't want it, we have two options. We can go to war with the thing we don't like, or we can just simply shift within and line up to something different. Going to war comes from a belief that we have to control the external reality to get the results we want. And the only reason we would feel we have to control something outside of us is if we felt powerless within. Does that make sense? So as we're working with these two chakras, the Invincibility chakra and our Uniqueness chakra, we're working with our own energy. And I see these both as very small chakras because they are highly sensitive and so specific to us. And as I said, the energy that blocks the uniqueness chakra under our heart chakra is the energy of self-hatred, because we're going to war with ourselves. We're saying, you're bad and I have to eliminate you because you're bad, rather than, oh, that doesn't feel good. That the belief or the meaning I have picked up is reflecting back to me in a world that is painful. So I want to change that meaning or that belief so I can have a different experience. So see the difference. I go to war, or I go into creative mode and create a solution. So I go into destructive mode, or I go into creative mode. Those are the two modes we go into when we come up against something we don't like. So moving up to our invincibility chakra, the chakra just above the heart chakra, I call this our invincibility chakra because to me it's the energy that helps us survive. The energy that if we survived in lack programming, there's something about us that's invincible. Because if we were just AI, if we were just a robotic program, we could easily be taken out. But something in us gives us the ability to discern and feel and be conscious of ourselves. And when we listen to our intuition and we shift accordingly, we avoid being taken out by the very strong program that has had power over this grid, the main collective grid, for a long time, which is the lack program. It's the war matrix. And if we've survived the war matrix, it means there's something within us that's invincible, some unique way that we survived and some unique way that we're thriving. In some way, we're alive and we weren't taken out yet. And that the lack programming is intended to take you out. So our invincibility, I see the colors of this chakra as like a violet, violet, purple, and blue, kind of iridescent, almost like if you've ever seen rainbow titanium quartz. That's exactly how the energy feels to me of this chakra. And titanium is, bulletproof. It's a very strong substance. And to me, this represents our shield, the unique way we can shift in just the right way to repel self-sabotaging energies. That's our uniqueness chakra. And so these two energies together that's our invisibility chakra. Invincibility. Wow. Invisibility, invincibility. I think that there's a synergy there because it's something about helping us survive. So it's the way these two chakras, the uniqueness chakra and our invincibility chakra, the synergy between those two chakras, because again, it's above and below. They flow in and out of each other. They reflect each other. All chakras below really are a reflection of the chakras above, and vice versa. So these two, the synergy that's flowing from the heart between these two expressions of ourselves, which is our first expression of our uniqueness, of our individual snowflake pattern, our individual, I call it our energy signature. This to me is your energy signature that cannot be faked. This is so key to your thriving on the planet. And I call this synergy our tribe vibe, because this synergy represents the part of you that is for you. The opposite of the self-sabotaging program, it's the energy of the self-thriving program. It's why a species has this mechanism to survive and will constantly come up with different ways to survive in its environment, because there's an intelligence behind it. There's a consciousness behind it. There's something that is causing it to want to continue to live. And so when we tap into that energy signature, when it's flowing, what we have is self-love, and we have self-appreciation. Now, just as I talked about the energy of the energy that blocks the uniqueness chakra is self-hatred, with our invincibility chakra, which represents our invincibility, the energy that blocks it is self-doubt. So notice how both those energies that can block our tribe vibe, block our thriving frequency, the frequency that tells the universe exactly what we need in order to thrive, what blocks that signal, what muddies up the signal in the matrix is self-doubt and self-hatred. Doubting ourselves. See, those are self-sabotaging programs. Do you feel the energy of that? And what what that translates to in a tangible way is you can imagine that, as we've talked about in the abundance matrix, life is infinite, source is infinite, energy is infinite. And energy is what fuels our consciousness, is what fuels our expressions. If we believe that there's not enough and we have to go to war, we have to eliminate the thing that's taking, and we have to be in power and all those things that are part of the lack matrix, we go to war with our unique, authentic selves. Because, as I said, those energies of our uniqueness and our invincibility and our heart, what that does, those energies communicating helps us thrive, because we're feeling our uniqueness, we're seeing the world in a unique way, we're experiencing it, and then we're determining, is my experience, does it feel good, and does it bring me more expansion, or does it feel negative and does it hurt? And then what am I doing with that? If we listen, if we believe that we're good, if we believe that we're worthy, if we don't have self-doubt and self-hatred, if instead we have self-love and self-determination, invincibility, like self-belief is really what I'm looking for. Self-belief is what thrives our invincibility chakra. If we have those things, then what we're doing is we're signaling in that synergy, a literal energy that we are, a frequency that we are putting in the matrix and programming. We're saying, okay, I want to line up to this reality instead, because that program is not one I want to experience anymore. And so we just shift. There's no resistance. But when we have self-doubt and self-hatred, we're blocking that signal. And so that signal is telling us, I don't like this. But then the energy, the program of lack is saying, but you're bad and you don't deserve, and you deserve it because you did this, and you're there's not enough for you. You don't deserve to live. Whatever that program is of the accuser, the lack program, the voice of the lack matrix is always an accusation. And that's how you can know if you're accusing others, like if you have that real accusatory energy and you feel like others are so deeply responsible for your experience, or you feel a voice coming towards you that's accusatory, it's lack. Period. End of story. It's lack. Release, because you can shift to whatever reality you want. And the key to getting there is self-love and self-belief. Just loving yourself enough to shift the frequency and to shift the program. But when we go to war and we have the mind or the ego has to prove that someone's wrong and that someone pays the price, because you feel responsible, you feel like are powerless, not responsible, but powerless. So you have to make someone responsible for your powerlessness. That causes that signal of thriving to turn into a signal of self-sabotage. And in any given moment, we're fluctuating, we're vacillating between the two. When we have lack programs activated, we're in self-sabotage mode. And as we're learning to really fine-tune our frequency, we're getting better and better and better and better at replacing those lack programs with abundance, because we're realizing it's nonsensical. We will not thrive and survive as a species if we don't overcome the program of lack, if we don't overcome the program of self-sabotage. And we are overcoming it. You wouldn't be here in this space if you weren't overcoming it. But the energy of this spell that we're doing, this cleanse that we're doing, is one of self-responsibility and of realizing that we are programming from within. And it includes feeling. We have got to be able to feel. And here's the crux of the situation. When we believe there's some things that are wrong, and there's some things that are right, and we have to determine what's right so we can survive, so we can have life force, because if we're wrong, then life force is going to be withheld from us. And so we go to war and we're looking at what everyone else does and we're judging everything. We can't live and be an authentic human being in that, because as a human being, as being this dense into the program, you are going to feel. You are going to feel. And if you don't like something and you're told that it's wrong to not like it, you're going to go to war with your own emotions. Sometimes when I have negative feelings about someone or something, I'll have really intense reactions, and then I feel really guilty about it, and then I kind of wrestle it until it's almost like I never fully validate the negative emotion, because I'm trying to, because a part of my mind is like, that's wrong. You're not allowed to feel that way. You're not allowed to feel a negative emotion, which is a blocking energy, because if the negative emotion is telling us something that we don't prefer. That's it. And when we're in the lack matrix, when we're in the war paradigm, we have to go to war with what we don't prefer. And so for people who are waking up and really understanding that we create our own reality, often what happens is they become terrified to feel a negative emotion. They feel terrified to actually validate how they feel because they're afraid it will bring more negative emotions into their life. But it couldn't be further from the truth. Our emotions are what helps us shift into abundance, and the key is not going to war with it. So if you feel a negative emotion, ask yourself, why does this not feel good? And get to the bottom of why it doesn't feel good, and let it be okay that it doesn't feel good. And you don't have to go to war with it. Just like, okay, I don't like that. So what is this telling me that I do want and I do prefer? And I want to tune into that. I want to shift whatever belief I have at the core level that is bringing this as a reflection into my reality. And I'm thankful. Energy of gratitude is so key when it comes to cultivating abundance in our resonance. Gratitude releases us from fear, guilt, and shame. It releases us. And remember, the energies that block our flow, all of our lower chakras, and therefore are thriving in 3D, because the lower chakras represent our physical body, our physical expression, our physical interaction with the physical reality. So they're more dense. But if we condemn the physical and think it's bad and feel like it's wrong and because it's dense, then we're not allowing ourselves to actually change the program or overcome the program. Does that make sense? We're going to go into this a little deeper tomorrow. Today as I said in the email, we're just getting this info because it's a lot to process, but I want you guys to hear it and I want you guys to think about it. And I want you guys to start exploring that energy, the synergy between your uniqueness and your invincibility, above and below your heart chakra. Those two energies that are the first expression of your uniqueness, your unique energy signature. Now remember, as we become transparent and authentic in our expression. In other words, we fully receive our feelings and we allow them to tell us, we allow them to be our messengers. We allow them to help us navigate our programming. So we, instead of going to war and making it wrong or right, making our emotions right or wrong, no matter what they are, instead we just take it as, oh, okay, that's what this is telling me. Okay, this is the program I need to go towards. Okay, let me shift it. And you see how all of that is empowering. That gives us the power and it takes us out of the war vibe. And all that does is release our energy from it. And so as we do that, we literally start releasing from the lack matrix. And pretty soon, the more people that stop tuning into it and fueling it, it stops having power. It stops having dominion. Those principalities dissolve. And it's not even a war. It's just, in a literal sense, it's your neural pathways. When you think a certain way over and over and over, it literally forms pathways in your brain that make it connections to other parts of your brain. And that causes things to be automatic. Your brain is constantly trying to help you not expend so much energy consciously. So it puts things on autopilot. So the more you think something, soon it's going to be on autopilot and it's going to be automatic and you don't even know it. And that's how all these programs get buried so deeply within our subconscious that we don't realize they're influencing us hugely. And we've just forgotten that because the programming in our DNA has been in lack for so long that our ancestors and we've just played out this war game over and over and over and over again. So much of what we do that's self-sabotaging is just automatic because it's been in our DNA for so long. And I think the reason we've come in more and more and more sensitive is because we're coming to overcome that program. It's what the species naturally does. We are going to overcome our limitations. That is what we do. And so it's inevitable, and we already have because every reality exists. When we understand how programming works, we remember, oh yeah, we can program anything we want. So I want you to think about this synergy, and I want you to ask yourself, where have I gone to war with myself? And I want you to answer these questions before you do the meditation tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll do a meditation directly going into the programming with these two chakras. And just like we did with the heart chakra, I want you to ask yourself, when was the first time I ever felt self-hatred? And remember, self-hatred blocks the uniqueness chakra, which is right below the heart chakra, right above the solar plexus. And then ask yourself, when was the first time I felt self-doubt? And self-doubt is the energy that blocks our invincibility chakra, which is right above the heart chakra, right below the throat chakra. And even the positioning of these chakras is key. The uniqueness chakra being right above our solar plexus, the solar plexus representing our will, our personal power, fueled by our sexuality, and our root chakra, which is our grounding to the earth. And then when you think about the invincibility chakra, right below the throat chakra is where we speak things into existence, the power of words, the first form of manifestation, communicating with others, making connections. You see how it all works in the matrix? We program the matrix and we program others with the words we're saying. We're telling them what we are, not just with our words, but with our energy. And the final thing I want to say is that the uniqueness and the invincibility chakras, when we are in sync with them, it means we're being authentic to who we are and what we feel. Authenticity is key because we can't fully be expressing a clear signal to the universe about what we feel and what we need if we're not being honest with ourselves, and if we're going to war with ourselves, if we believe that we can't say what we feel and what we need because it's wrong, or if we believe we're bad, or if we believe that negative emotions are wrong, and what you really authentically may be feeling is something negative, but you don't want to allow yourself to feel it because you feel like it's wrong, so you're just suppressing it. So it's clouding, it's literally jarbling the frequency you're offering. That's your uniqueness. It's your energy signature. Your energy signature is telling the universe, this is what I need. This is the universe. This is the reality I want to line up to because this one I don't like, or this is what I need to upgrade. This is what I need to shift. If you're ignoring that, if you're clouding it, if you're fueling thoughts of self-doubt and self-hatred, your signature is garbled. And so the universe is sending you exactly what you're vibrating, what you're telling it. And if it's a mixed message, you're going to get mixed messages in the universe. If it's a solid self-sabotage, you're going to keep feeling like, wow, I keep just drawing things into my experience that are hurting me over and over again. And if it's self-loving, you're going to feel like the universe is for you and that it's supporting you. And you keep noticing things coming in that are for you and that keeps your needs are always met because the universe is a reflection of us and it will always give us what we ask for. The problem is we just don't always realize what we're actually asking for because our asking happens in our programming, in our subconscious programming. And so we have to be willing to look at it and take full responsibility and be empowered to know that if we want to shift, it's not about forcing someone or forcing the external to shift. We have to shift within. We don't need to go to war. And if you have a strong energy that feels like you need to go to war because you don't feel like your wounds have ever been validated, or there, legit have been things that people have overpowered us and hurt us and have never been held accountable for it. How we deal with that is by shifting the programming, by validating 100%, allowing, okay, my inner being is so adamantly telling me this is not in alignment with my soul. That means we need to listen to it. That means we need to validate our emotions and not go to war with them. Let them all come out. But the trick is we don't act. We don't act from a negative space because we understand how frequency works. So we allow it out because it's our messenger. And then once we've allowed it fully to be expressed and we get the message, then we tune into our hearts and we decide what we need to do to shift it. And we shift from a space of remembering there's an infinite amount of realities. And if I don't want this to continue, I can't feed it. War energy works on war energy, works on war energy, works on war energy. It doesn't matter how justified we feel in going to war. War is war is war. War brings more war. That's all that's going to happen. And so we really have our innermost being, especially in the areas where we're going, no. What our innermost being is telling us is, I don't want to go to war again. I don't want to. The war traumatized my soul at the deepest level. It traumatized the human species at the deepest level. It traumatized the planet at the deepest level. And our innermost being, our hearts that are precious jewels and precious gifts, were shattered. And that is why the whole planet, I feel like the whole planet is crying out saying, no more war. And what we're ultimately saying is no more lack. No more believing in lack. Let's stop fueling that program. Let's stop giving it power. So when we get into alignment with our uniqueness and our invincibility, when we allow ourselves to fully embrace that and we're authentic and we get really good at fine-tuning this energy, tuning into this. And as I said, they're small chakras, but when we shift them even slightly, everything shifts in our reality because they're packed with power. They're the first expressions of your heart, your uniqueness, and the way that you're overcoming the programming. Do you see what I'm saying? So when we shift there, everything shifts. And that's why most people bypass these two energies because of self-sabotaging program, and we try to be what everyone else thinks we should be, and we override what we are feeling and what we're believing because of fear that we'll be in trouble if we don't follow what others are doing. It all stems from fear, or a fear that we're going to go to war with ourselves. And when we're in self-sabotaging programming, we're either going to war with ourselves or we're going to war with someone else, but either way it's detrimental. So as we tune in and as we really get good at fine-tuning, listening to that synergy between our uniqueness and our invincibility that's saying this is the way to go this way. It's unique to us and it's unique to our programming, and we need to let others off the hook. It has nothing to do with controlling others and everything to do with controlling, not even controlling, but tuning in to ourselves and getting the message and shifting accordingly. We become invincible when we do this, and we shift powerfully, and we realize, oh, not only do we not need to go to war is nonsensical. All it does is create more war. We're going to war thinking that it's going to bring peace, but it's actually causing more of what we don't want. So it's easier to change a program when we see it's nonsensical because the brain works on logic. So the more you can show your mind this is nonsensical, the more it's going to go, oh yeah, I don't want to do that. So as we shift in and as we tune into this synergy, the clearer that signal becomes to the universe, the more transparent we can become, the more authentic we can become to that synergy, the more we act. That's our energy signature to our own personal bank account with the universe, because the universe will always give us exactly what we need and what we've asked for. Always without fail, cause and effect, always. So once we learn to tap into that and be clear about what we're communicating for, it's like learning the language of the internet. If you've heard me say this before, but if you go to order something online, let's say you're ordering a pair of pants and it asks you for your size and you put in a size 8, but you're really a size 12, and the universe gives you a size 12, and you wonder why. I mean, not the universe, but the internet. It's you because you said size 8. Do you know what I'm saying? So we have to be very clear with the matrix and treat it like a computer program. It's just a computer program. It's not personal. It's not reflecting anything personal. It doesn't care what you put in. It doesn't care what you program it with. It's neutral, but it will give you exactly what you program into it. And we make it personal. We are personal because we are experiencing a personal reality. We've made it personal because we're experiencing the universe in a personal way. We're experiencing our own programming in a personal way. We're experiencing what our program feels like. We're so amazing as a species. Like, it's so incredible what we are, what we've evolved to be. But we have to understand how the subconscious mind works and program it with what we want. So it's taking major responsibility. And what we've done in lack programming is we've allowed the subconscious programming to take over and overpower us. And we've given it power. We've given our power away to it. So I've talked a little longer than I wanted to on this, but I hope that I gave you a lot of really good information. This is key stuff, guys. This is unbelievable stuff. And if we can learn to apply this, we will shift quantum leap. And remember, we're doing the spell of astronomical abundance. I know not everyone listening to this, some of you just took the detox by itself without the whole, the program of the spell of astronomical abundance. But we are all right now doing this part together, this cleanse, and we are collectively shifting in a major way. And as you do this work and as you interact with this material, I want you to remember, okay, I'm tuning into the reality in which we are free from lack programming. It's not a reality where it never existed. We can't go back and unknow what we now know. That's from eating the fruit of knowledge. We now know that contrast exists. We now know that pain exists. We now know that darkness exists. But what do we do with that knowledge? That's the key here. We're not pretending we didn't see dark. We're not pretending we don't know what can really happen and how dark it can really get. What we're saying is, oh, now that we know that, what do we want? What do we prefer? So make sure to answer these questions. When was the first time I ever felt self-hatred? And remember, self-hatred is related to the uniqueness chakra. And then when was the first time I ever felt self-doubt? And that's related to our invincibility chakra above the heart chakra. And I want you to explore the energy here. Just feel into this signature because it's very unique. And ask yourself, am I being transparent with the energy, the synergy between these two chakras? Am I listening to it? Am I tuning in? Am I fine-tuning my vibration? Or am I relying on my mind? Am I relying on what everyone else says I should be doing? Just tune into this energy, really, really tune into it. And tomorrow we're going to go a little bit deeper into a meditation to help us shift it. But before you do the meditation, I want you to ask these questions so you know when the first time you ever felt self-hatred and self-doubt, and what was the program you believed, like why, just like we did with the heart chakra. What was the message you received? In other words, the first time you ever made a mistake, what was the message you received about it? Usually when we go into self-doubt or self-hatred, it's because we've made a quote-unquote mistake, and the message we received from those around us was that, okay, you're no longer worthy of love, or I'm going to withhold love, or I'm withholding support from you because you're bad. Because remember, in lack, if you're bad, then you can't have love, because love is limited and only good people can have love. You know what I'm saying? So do the same thing you did with your heart chakra. And with your heart chakra. And then just ask yourself these questions. When was the first time I felt this way? What was the message I received from the first time I made a mistake? Did I receive doubt from people? Did I receive hatred from people? Was love withheld from me? What was the message you received? Look at that program. And if it was a negative program, what message would you have wanted to have? Knowing what you know now, what would have helped you to overcome? What would have helped you to move towards making a better decision next time? Because how we deal with our mistakes and failures determines how successful we're going to be in the future. Because the mistakes and failures are key. That's what teaches us. But we can either take them and learn from them, and as we talked about, okay, I learned that this caused this and I didn't like this, so now I'm going to change the message I received and I want a different experience, without having all this emotional energy tied to it. You're bad or wrong, or it has to mean something. It can just mean, oh, I learned that I didn't like that. Do you feel the difference? Okay, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Hopefully this is helpful. I know this stuff is just deep and it's incredible, and it will shift your life if you allow it to. So I can't wait to hear the messages you've got. And for those of you in the Spell of Astronomical Abundance group, feel free to share on the Facebook page. I would love to hear what your experience has been.